When a child says they have an imaginary friend, most parents smile and assume it's just a phase. But what if that friend isn't so imaginary after all? What if they know things the child could never know? If they whisper secrets in the dark, play in strange ways, or react as if they are truly there? Sometimes what we call imagination might be something far more real than we'd like to believe. Who or what is really talking to them? In today's stories on Creepy Brazil, we'll explore two real-life accounts that happen to different families. Put on your headphones and step into a side of Brazil you never dreamed of. Creepy Brazil. The world needs to know. It all started when he was 3 years old. I was in the living room watching TV, and he went to the kitchen to get the milk. A few minutes later, he appeared in the hallway and said, "Mommy, come here." I got up quickly and went to see what was happening. Hyder grabbed my hand and led me to the stove. Then he pointed to the floor and said as naturally as possible, "There was a little boy here." I was a little uncomfortable, but I tried not to show it. "Stop it, Hyder." But he insisted. He said the boy was sitting there, but he had disappeared. I didn't pay much attention to it. I thought he was imagining it. Until a few days later, it happened again. I was in the laundry room doing laundry when he looked up and said, "Be careful, Mommy." I immediately turned around and asked what was wrong. "The boy is falling from the sky." I got goosebumps, but I tried to act calmly. "What boy, son?" He pointed to my back and replied, "He fell there and disappeared." This time my heart raced. In the following days, Hater continued to act strangely. Every now and then he would look at a corner of the house as if he were watching someone. Sometimes he would smile at nothing. Other times, he seemed scared, as if something was bothering him. That was when I decided to ask, "Son, this little boy you see, does he talk to you?" Hector nodded. "What does he say?" My son looked at me seriously and answered, "He said he lived here before us." A shiver ran through my entire body. That was too much for me. I called my mother and told her what was happening. Unlike me, she always believed in these things and said I should find out more about the house. I looked it up on the internet and asked neighbors, but no one knew anything, until a man who had lived on the street for many years told me something that left me completely frightened. "Are you talking about the boy?" he asked, frowning. "What boy?" I tried to keep my voice steady, but my heart was racing. He sighed, rubbing his chin as if trying to decide whether or not to speak. Then I continued. "This house. Many years ago, a family lived here, a couple and a small child. The boy played a lot in the yard. He was always running around. But one day, he climbed the wall trying to get a toy that had fallen on the other side and, well, he fell head first onto the ground. It was instantaneous. My throat felt dry. "And was that a long time ago?" "About 20 years, maybe more," he answered. "After that, the family moved. They say the mother never got over it." My skin crawled from head to toe. I returned home confused. Every word that man said echoed in my mind. The boy Hector saw. Could it be the same one from the story? That night, I waited for Hector to fall asleep and went to the kitchen, right where he said he had seen the boy for the first time. I stood there trying to feel something, anything. The silence in the house seemed denser, as if the air were heavier. I whispered, feeling my heart beat fast. "Are you here?" Nothing. Just the sound of the clock on the wall ticking away. I let out a sigh and felt ridiculous. What did I expect? That a ghost boy had just appeared to me? I turned off the light and went to my room. But as soon as I lay down, I heard a noise coming from the kitchen. Something light, like small footsteps. My body froze. The first thing I thought of was Hector. Had he woken up and gone there? I got up quickly and went to his room. He was sleeping soundly. So, who was walking in the kitchen? I walked slowly back down the hallway, feeling every hair on my body stand on end. My heart almost stopped when I saw the kitchen floor. There was a toy. That toy wasn't Hector's. I had never seen him before. At this point, fear was already taking over my body, but at the same time a strange feeling grew inside me. It wasn't as if the presence of that person wanted to harm me. It was different. I slowly picked up the toy and whispered, "I don't know who you are, but it's okay now. You don't have to stay here anymore." The silence was absolute. I waited a few more seconds and nothing happened. Just that heavy air that suddenly seemed to lighten. The next day when Hector woke up, I asked him if he had seen the boy again. He shook his head and smiled. "He left," his mother called him. I don't know how to explain what happened in that house, but since that night, Hector never spoke of the boy again. And the toy? The next day, I left it on the other side of the wall. As if somehow we know that we have told someone that he had finally found his way back home. I grew up in a small town in the interior of Brazil, where everyone knows everyone else, and nothing really exciting happens. Today I'm an adult, married, and have a normal life. But sometimes when I'm alone and the silence of the early morning takes over, I remember something from my childhood that I've never been able to explain. Something that, no matter how hard I try to forget, always seems to find a way to come back. When I was 5 years old, my mother used to say that I was a quiet, reserved boy. I didn't make many friends at school and preferred to play alone. Or at least that's what she noticed. The first time I told her about my imaginary friend was during dinner. I remember asking if I could get a plate for Felipe. She frowned, confused, and asked me who Felipe was. That's when I told her that he was my imaginary friend and that he lived in our house. My mother laughed, thinking it was just a phase. Many children invent imaginary friends, but over time, she began to realize that there was something strange about it. I didn't just talk to Felipe. I listened to him talk to me. Sometimes I would laugh out loud in the middle of the night as if he had told a joke. Other times, I would whisper answers as if I were listening to advice. And the worst part, I always said that Felipe was sad and that he doesn't like to be alone. I said, "My mother told me, he's not alone, honey. He has you," trying to reassure me. I nodded and said, "Yes, Mom, but he wants you too." My mother began to worry when she noticed things out of place around the house. Toys she was sure were put away would appear in the hallway. Doors she had closed would open again. One time she came into my room in the middle of the night and found me sitting on the bed, staring at an empty corner. And she asked what I was doing awake. Without looking away, I replied, "Felipe said he wants to sleep with me tonight." It was after that night that she started researching about children and imaginary friends, trying to understand if that was normal. But then things got worse. One day my grandmother came to visit us. As soon as she entered the room, she stopped suddenly and turned pale. "Who is that boy over there at the door?" My mother looked back, but there was no one there. "What boy, Mother?" My grandmother hesitated. "He was right there, small with dark hair, looking at us." My mother held my hand tightly and said, "Son, what does Felipe look like?" "Small with dark hair, he's right there at the door." My mother never doubted what I said again. That day, a priest was called to bless the house. While he was praying, I started shouting, saying that Felipe was angry, that he didn't want that man to be there. And then, all the doors in the house slammed at the same time. The priest left in a hurry, saying he wouldn't come back. My mother prayed like never before that night, and after that she forbade me from talking to Felipe. She said he couldn't stay there anymore, that he wasn't my friend. The next morning, for the first time in years, I woke up and didn't feel his presence. I don't know what happened to Felipe after that. All I know is that over time, I stopped talking about him and started to believe that it was all just a child's imagination. Until a few months ago, my wife is pregnant with our first child, and we recently moved into a new house. Last night, as I was setting up the crib in the baby's room, I felt a strong shiver, and without understanding why, I turned to the door. For a second, just a second, I saw it. A small dark-haired boy standing in the doorway looking at me. My fingers gripped the side of the crib tightly and my heart began to pound in my chest. Blinking a few times, I tried to convince myself that it was just tiredness. I was exhausted from the move, from preparing for the baby's arrival. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me, but then I heard it. A child's soft laugh. I looked around the room. Nothing. No sound other than the faint hum of the overhead light. I dropped my tools and left my son's room, trying to convince myself that I hadn't seen anything, that it was all just my imagination. But fear had already set in. That night, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. My wife slept peacefully beside me and I envied her peace. But the worst came in the early hours of the morning. I woke up suddenly for no apparent reason. I looked at the ceiling, feeling a strange weight on my chest, that feeling that something was very wrong. And then I heard the creak of the bedroom door slowly opening. My heart raced again and I could barely breathe. I kept my eyes fixed on the door, waiting to see something, waiting for anything. And then, very softly, I heard a voice coming from under the bed saying, "You can't ignore me." It was a whisper, weak, almost a breath in the dark, but I recognized it. I jumped up in bed and looked around, but the room was empty. My wife stirred beside me, mumbling something in her sleep. Maybe I was going crazy. Maybe I never really forgot. The next day I woke up with dark circles under my eyes and a sick feeling in my chest. But I tried to move on. I convinced myself that it was all just a bad dream, until I went to the baby's room to continue assembling the crib. As I walked in, I felt a shiver run down my spine. Everything seemed normal at first glance until I noticed what was on the floor, right in the middle of the room. A carefully folded piece of paper. My hands shook as I bent down to pick it up. I unfolded the paper slowly and felt my stomach turn as I read the writing on it, in shaky, childish handwriting. "I want to play with him too." Thank you very much for being with me as you listen to these frightening stories that no one is exempt from. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Although this channel talks about cases that occurred in Brazil, if you also want to hear your story here, send your story to the email that is in the channel description.